Wasabi gangsters. We're doing this kind of the old school way. Gonna totally adjust the camera again because you just don't figure it out ever. At least I don't. So I'm gonna go into what I just finished reading because I actually finished something this week. Thank God. Guess what it was? The Bonehunters. I'm gonna do a quick run through of what I thought. Overall thoughts, spoiler free on that. Didn't get to any Berserk this week. I'll probably be doing that next week. I'll just kind of give myself space and time this week when it comes to my writing stuff. I'll let you guys in on that later. I will be reading a few books at the same time. So let's just dive into that really quick. I'm going to start to ride Hell's Chasm. I'll probably try and start with a chapter a day while I finish up Eluthienn by Sam Middleton. To Ride Hell's Chasm it's by Janny-Wary, by the way. I will be finishing this hopefully in the next couple of weeks. I haven't started it yet. I'm about to today. So I'll obviously keep you guys updated there with that progress because it's my next big read here. And then, of course, I'm going to be reading it by side of Discovery by JAJ Minton over at the family over at Talking Story, quite literally. I'm really excited to get into this. I was in bed last night and I was like, oh, let me just peek at this real quick. But I was like too tired already, so I didn't get a chance to actually start it. So I will be touching this before bed today as well. So I'm going to be going through a few books at the same time. I haven't done that in a while, and these are all 3 different genres. So I'm kind of excited about that. That's the only way I find that I'm able to read multiple books at the same time is by doing that. So that will be my next 3 reads. And I don't know when I'll be finishing any of them. I'm pulling a Chris from Bearded Book Beast right now, getting into that like that way. And then I'm going to shout out Preacher Reads really quick because he pointed me in the direction of Dead Man's Walk by Larry McMurtry. My girlfriend and I have been looking for the editions of these that look like this. I didn't get the Pango Books one that he recommended. I found a cheaper one somewhere. So I picked this up. It's got a little blue mark on it, but that's fine. And this is probably my favorite of the 4, I think. This is just like a beautiful kind of like painting esque background. I believe it's a 1994 print edition. And yes, this is in the Lonesome Dove universe. I believe it's the first chronologically of the 4 books. So that one I was really excited to get my hands on. And then, so let's talk really quickly about Bonehunters before we get into some writing stuff. Now, Bonehunters is, oh, wow. I mean, every single book of Malazan that I get into, the journey just gets further and further along. This is the first book where I think pieces started to come together and we started to get some convergence, like really heavy convergence. You get hints of it in the earlier books. Things come together inside of those books that really creates it. But of the overarching plot that we really got into in this book, we start seeing the things that are hinted to in the first 5. Now, I believe myself, I'm planning a conversation on Midnight Tides at Rommel over at Rommel Broadcast. I don't know his actual name. I should probably have figured that out before talking about it. Rommel Broadcasting, Jake from Nerd Level Rising, and Josh Reed's books. Josh Reed Books and Rommel Broadcasting are moving through Malazan as well. They're about to read Midnight Tides, I believe. So I'm trying to plan a spoiler conversation with those 3 guys. Obviously, Jake from Nerd Level Rising will be our resident Malazan, having completed the series guy to kind of go to in that conversation. Midnight Tides, I think, is slowly growing. It's like really close between that and Dead House Gates as far as my favorites. I don't know why. It's so weird. Every single book in this series just grows and grows on me the further I get away from it. So I'm going to have some time before I get into Reaper's Gale. There was some Reaper's Gale stuff hinted to in this book. The exploration of compassion reaches new heights as it does every time Steven Erikson touches a pen or a keyboard. And we got to see a lot of comedy in this book as well. We have an alcoholic, which was absolutely hilarious, and then how it all ties in, and we get some references back to what exactly the Dead House is. And I don't think that's a spoiler. I hope that's not. I mean, to me, it's not because I have no friggin' idea. So I don't want to give too much away. But this book overall, figuring out who the Bonehunters were, I was texting Jake. I was like, hey, I think the Bonehunters are X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to say who or what. And then I was way wrong. I think mine was cooler. No, I'm kidding. Steven Erikson obviously knows what he's doing. That said, who they end up being is very fulfilling, very exciting. And then you can't. It's a 6th book in a series, so saying any more would probably spoil this. So I'm going to leave that all to the table. Just know that I really, really am enjoying so far my journey in the Malazan universe, and I can't wait to continue it with Reaper's Gale, and then I believe the Return of the Crimson Guard are my next 2 Malazan reads. When? That's a fantastic question, because I have Prophet of Edan to get to after these 3 big reads with To Ride Hell's Chasm, Eluthienn, and Discovery, and then I have Disquiet Gods. So that's like the lineup coming up here soon. The nonfiction stuff I haven't quite gotten to yet. Now, I think that is the reading covered. So if that's all you're here for, if you're only here for the reading stuff, thank you so much for coming. Like, subscribe, comment. I'm grateful that you came to hang out and chat books. Please leave down below what you're reading. If what I'm reading impacted you in any way, I'd love to have a conversation about it. If there's something that you have read that I have also read, I just love having the conversation in the comments below. I'm sure every booktuber shares this desire and this urge to like talk about books. And so yeah, I just wanted to make sure to leave that open for you guys. If you're thinking about commenting, just go ahead and do it, and we can chat. I like to answer every single one, while I can, So I'm going to move into my writing again. If you're here for reading, thank you so much. So writing updates, guys, some big stuff, some really exciting stuff. I finally finished my developmental edits. I turned it in yesterday being Wednesday. I'm filming on Thursday. And the final word count we got to was 192, roughly 193,000. If you want the full word count, you can go to the exact number of what the words is going into the copy edits that I'm having the York Editing Guild do for me. That I think it's Gracie York specifically is going to be doing my copy edits. I'm just saying it anyways. And Dave referred me to her, so I'm really excited to what comes of this copy edit. But if you're interested in the exact word count, go to I have links below of like my Patreon. It's all free. You can just join and hang out with me. And I have a short story up there you can check out leading up to the release of the book. I will have Jack Shepard's map put on there and an art piece or two. I'm trying to commission and work on some other stuff. I did get one art piece back, but that one I think I'm going to be using more as a concept for what I'm looking for in a grander scheme of things. So that will be up there. You'll have the first 35 some odd pages. I'll probably put the Dramatis Personae and the glossary up there, so you guys can all see that, up there. And in terms of ARC reading, if you're interested in an ARC, like an advanced reader copy of this book, which will digitally probably be available in around the April timeframe, just go ahead and join that Patreon. It's again free, and you can contact me, and then I'll reach out and I'll send some stuff your way. I'd be more than happy to share it with you. I want to share this world and this book with as many people as possible because I just want people to experience the story, like, because I love it. So yeah, that's all the plug right there. But the word count is 192 at the final stuff of dev edits, specifically to dive into just some things to see behind the curtain. I had a list of words that Dave gave me that I had to control F and like kind of go through and make sure that they were used correctly. Of course, sometimes they weren't. That's just the way it goes when you're word vomiting sometimes, even when you're going through and through and through. And then I did a control F because as I was going through this edit, I noticed I was like, the word just kind of pops up a lot. And I even looked it up. I was like, okay, you one just per or whatever, 1 per 1,000 words is like fine, which it ended up being. But I cut from like 260 instances of just, I cut down to 80 or so. And then this is just, I know you guys are now going to be looking for it and I'm pointing it out and holy crap, this is so stupid, but I'm sharing it with you. So I went in and I made sure, because it was a tick I sort of noticed, a writing tick of my own that I noticed that I went and corrected. I either replaced it or deleted it completely. And then I also did a search for the word moment, just to get like for a moment, like he was quiet for a moment, and said, changing that to the silence held, or, I don't know, something like that. There's the moment one. And again, 260 instances cut down to around 80. That one, going back and changing that one completely shifted how I looked at my writing and my prose. Simply because it's kind of like a crutch that to use for a moment, just as a hesitant, like, for a time or whatever, just a transition. And instead, it forced me to be a little bit more creative when I went back and did the word search for it. So for those of you who want to learn from my mistakes as I'm going through my process, something that you can look for, right before I did it right before I went to copy edits, thank goodness. And I'm sure there's other words that you'll find that I have to do the same thing for, but those are the two phrases for me that really popped out, that I needed to go back and correct. And I cut them. I cut almost 200 of the word just, and then the phrase for a moment or a moment went by. And it really changed the way that I looked at my manuscript. And also it will change how I look at my manuscript going back into book 2. Now I know I'm taking a day off from working on my book. I'm starting book 2. It's January 30th. I'm taking tomorrow and today off. Saturday I might touch it just to get the pedals moving again, maybe for an hour or so. We'll see, to get back into book 2. I also have that other writing project. I'm doing like a crime thriller set in the 50s that I'm working on for a buddy who's a producer for a podcast. That will be fun to flex and also practice some outside of my wheelhouse, just to get a different idea of some writing stuff, to write some more tense scenes, because I do love a thriller. So I'm looking forward to all of that. I'm looking forward to see what Jack Shepherd comes up with in this coming week. I have my 2 proofreaders lined up for when I get the copy edits back and make those changes. And I'm really looking forward to what this book is going to turn out to be. Oh, also Abel at Abel Montero, who is coming out with his own book, The Crimson Fire. Him and I got in a call this week. He's one of the most fantastic humans I've met. He's going to help me with some formatting stuff and some stuff on the inside of the book to really make it pop and really make it an enjoyable reading experience overall, whether you're reading it digitally or physically when the paperback comes out. And then also I learned a bunch about like how to do a hardback, because right now I'm only planning on doing a paperback, at least in the first initial release, and then potentially a hardcover in the future. In terms of audiobook stuff, I'm going to get into this really quick and then we'll cut the video, guys. I know you're hanging out. I'm appreciating it. So the audiobook stuff, I will likely, there's a couple things. This one is me getting ahead of myself. So I'm going to clarify that before I say anything. I will report back to you on it if I remember. So if you hear me in the future not talk about this, just know that I'm not intentionally doing it. It's just my brain went somewhere else. I did reach out to the gentleman in Sound Booth Theater who did Dungeon Crawler Carl, and they got back to me about just how the pay process works and everything. And if it's a project, I tried to pitch them on the project. We'll see if it's something that they want to take on. You never know. And Jeff Hayes would be. I watched some of his samples and I was blown away by the emotion that he puts into his work. And this would be a crazy ideal situation if that were to happen. I mean, of course, like Jeff Hayes, like you have your Mount Rushmore of audiobook narrators for fantasy, and I think he's up there with the success of Dungeon Crawler Carl, and it would be great to have him along for this book. That said, like, of course, I'm trying to open my mind to other possibilities of other narrators who I also really, really enjoy. You have to just keep your mind open, and at the end of the day, if all else fails, I also know how to do it. Definitely not as well as these guys, because I'm not as practiced as they are. That said, it's something that I would work very hard on doing myself with all the different voices of all the characters. And it's something I've thought about, even having read. There is a reading I have always in my descriptions of my prologue of the first part of the before. And so that sort of thing, like I would do audio samples myself leading up to the release of the book in general. So that's something that I'm considering. And I obviously, of course, I'm hoping that comes through. I'm sharing it with you guys because I want you guys to be a part of the experience and the journey with me, and failures and successes alike. So if it's something that does work out, you guys will know. If it's something that doesn't work out, you guys will know. So the goal is Jeff Hayes. We'll see. And if it happens, that would be incredible. But yeah, so that's it for the video today, guys. I am trying to think if there's anything else I have to talk about. I'm just rambling now. Grateful that you guys came along. If you listened all the way to the end of this, go ahead, leave a comment, subscribe, and like the video, and come hang out next Friday. I do these updates every week. You guys can get the behind the scenes stuff of writing in general. I will be moving back into book 2 of my Mercy series by the time this update comes next. And then as far as reading goes, you guys will hear about Berserk, you'll hear about To Ride Hell's Chasm, you hear a little bit about Eluthienn, you'll hear about Discovery. I mean, we're just having a great time over here. All right. I will see you guys next Friday. Thanks for coming.